I guess all this stuff comes second nature to a carpenter, but I'm no carpenter. So if you're ever thinking you can't build a cabin because you're not experienced doing woodworking, I'm not really either. My trade was sheet metal. I didn't do much woodworking other than hobby stuff at home. But it's natural material and you just work with it. Read a couple of books, look at a couple of YouTube videos, figure out how to do it. Of course, wherever I put the camera, the smoke goes there, if it's not coming to me. It's funny, I didn't know this until got the cabin up, but it seems to be a pattern now that every evening the sun switches around and comes from the east through here and blows the smoke back towards the cabin. So I'm gonna have to be careful about that during campfires and fireside chats. I'm probably still putting a green roof on this porch section. Green roof is decent in the summer when the vegetation is green. It's fireproof, not decent, fairly fireproof when it's green. And then in the winter it's covered in snow. But in the early spring and the fall, that vegetation is dead, as you can imagine. So it'll be, whether it's grass like sod or even moss, dried out in the middle of the summer. Got to be careful with sparks. So I'm going to be, fortunately there's not much softwood on this property anyway, so I'm not going to be building sparky fires on in this fire pit. It's going to be mostly maple and yellow birch burns, so it doesn't spark much, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. If it is, we'll move the fire pit to another spot or have a second one. It's a cool spot down below, closer to the water, might be a good spot for one. Anyway, that's just about ready. Alright, I'm going to eat this up, and I think I'm going to get ready to go to bed immediately afterwards, because like I said, I'm tired and I have to get up really early. I have to be at the fields at 6 o'clock, so I'll probably get up about 4:30, just have some oatmeal and tea, and then head out. And then be back here about 9 or 10 to continue working on the cabin. Holy, that's good. I need to get some more benches made and move them around the fire so I can move away from the smoke. Move back from the fire a little bit, I guess. Yeah, I think I'll make that door this week. I have a nice piece of stained glass that I actually had installed in the door of my chicken coop. My godfather gave it to us for a wedding gift 21 years ago. 21 years ago Thursday, actually, it's my anniversary. And just never had a good place for it. So I'll make this door out of 2-inch pine with the stained glass in the center of it. So that's going to be another 2 or 3 days just doing all the detail work. And then a couple of days on the roof. Then I'm inside getting the floor done. This cabin feels huge to me. That first cabin I built 26 years ago was only 8 by 12. Not very good pictures of it, I don't think, and wasn't many pictures back then, but when my wife and I went there last year, got a few pictures. It was hard to capture really the essence of it and the size of it, but 8 by 12. So basically this wall to that center part is 10 by 10, so 100 square feet. Cabin was 8 by 12, 96 square feet, so pretty close in dimensions to half of this cabin. Anyway, I'm rambling, tired, going to bed, gonna get up early, go hunting, come back here, and I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you back here at the cabin about 10 o'clock. Good night. 4:53, time to get up. can see, I'm a little bit soggy today, and I have to admit, this has not been a very productive week up at the cabin. Got that video last week, and I talked about the gable ends and how I was going to have the ridge pole up, and things are just not working out that way. I think I might have it up by the time I publish this video, but I'm not going to have it up in time to edit the video and get it published. So that will be next week. So if you were looking forward to that, I know some of you were, I apologize. I don't want to take my tools out in this kind of weather. It's been raining on and off all day. It's like 30 degrees Celsius with the humidex, even though it's mid-September. And the bugs are actually out, the mosquitoes are hatching, and it's one of those days that could just get you down. But I actually, as I'm working here and not having to think about, in detail about what I'm doing, my mind's wandering, and I was thinking back to some of the comments I got on that last video. And one in particular kind of sticking with me as I'm digging this hole for the outhouse. Not very exciting and not very fun. But what I was thinking about was this guy who said something like he clicked on this video because he wanted to learn how to build a log cabin. And he said he did learn something, and what he learned is that he can't do it. Doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the tools, and of course anybody can get the tools. And the experience comes with actually doing it. I don't want to give the impression that I really know what I'm doing. I'm sure there's some log cabin builders that have clicked on this video just out of curiosity and would have some comments on how I'm building it. But I didn't really set out to build a cabin of this size, first of all. But I really didn't set out to also to build a commercial perfect log cabin or home. To me, this was just a cabin in the woods, and it still is that. Through the build process, I'm constantly reminded that I'm not a carpenter, and I'm not going to profess to be a carpenter. I don't want to profess to be an expert log cabin builder or woodworker. So I just wanted to make that clear, first of all, that I built a cabin 26 years ago when I was 21, but same thing, I just had a hatchet and an axe and a saw and basically cut the notches loose with the hatchet, stacked it all on the ground, and called it a cabin. Now it's still standing, so I learned that from that cabin. And I also learned from watching Dick Proenneke and reading Dick Proenneke's journals that even though he was a carpenter, he chose to just build his cabin right on the gravel, and it's standing 40 years later. So not concerned about that. But the point I wanted to make is that you don't have to be an experienced, you don't have to be an expert at something in order to give it a try and accomplish something that you can be proud of. So I'm proud of that cabin that I built when I was 21, and I'm proud of this cabin. I'm 47 now, physically not 21 anymore. Got the aches and pains of an older guy. Don't have the strength, I don't think that, although I'm starting to think I might be building that strength up equal to or greater than when I was 21. But you know what, I was sitting at a desk for the last 15 years. I was not in very good shape. I have some chronic injuries from hockey. I've got a sore neck, so I slouch a little bit forward. That hurts me when I'm sleeping. I've had a bad back in the past, but this cabin build has strengthened my back. I no longer have back pain, which is great. Joint impingement in my shoulders and my elbows, so even though I have fairly strong arms, my chest is not the strongest, and my shoulders, because I can't do bench press movements. So I haven't been able to develop these muscles very well. So I have these physical limitations, but more than that, I'd have the same mental limitations everybody else has. You might have seen me mention things like this in the past, but when I was younger, when I was in high school, I was painfully shy, and I didn't participate very well in school. So as a result, I never graduated high school. I'm actually, I think, 2 credits short still. I'm not going back, obviously, 20 or 30 years later, but I never did graduate high school. So I failed grade 11 English twice, and I failed grade 12 English twice. And I just gave up after that. I finished out my 4 years of high school, but I didn't walk away with the diploma because I just couldn't get those English credits that were mandatory. The main reason for that is that I was painfully shy. I didn't want to do the project where I had to get up in front of the class and present it. So ironically, here I am talking to a camera, and maybe it's because it's a camera that I can do this in front of hundreds of thousands of people in some cases on my videos. And you know, that's one of the limitations that I overcame. But I think what's even more interesting than that, I failed English, like I said, 4 times and didn't get my diploma as a result. But you might not know unless you follow me on Facebook. I actually write for Ontario Tourism and for some canoeing and kayaking magazines. So that started last year. So like I said, even though I don't have my English credits, I couldn't pass English in high school. You know, 30 years later, here I am writing for a living. It's how I earn part of my income. And you also might not know that I have a high net worth. So because I didn't get my high school diploma, the options for a job weren't, I didn't have that many options for employment, of course, but I was able to, with a grade 10 education, take a trade. So I became a sheet metal worker following in the footsteps of my father. So that was a limitation that I had to overcome early. But so despite my lack of education, I was able to start off my own companies in my 30s. And long story short, that I'll get into another time on another video, 7 years ago I ended up $750,000 in personal debt. So I guaranteed some business debts, business credit. And a long story that I want to tell, like I said, on some upcoming videos for sure, about that. Probably the highest points of my life and the lowest points of my life. But that $750,000 that I was in debt, I'm no longer, and actually turned it around and now have a 7-figure net worth. So I do want to tell that story, but that's not to brag. It's just to show that that anybody can overcome their limitations. Maybe not to, you know, everybody has a different degree of success that they have in mind, and not everybody can achieve exactly the same thing, but you can certainly achieve probably more than you think you can. And I think this cabin for me at this stage of my life is sort of my proof to myself, or the test that I'm giving myself to show that I can do something physical still. I've achieved what I want to achieve in business. I've achieved some extreme low points, which can be looked at as an achievement because you learn an awful lot from your failures. And you know, here I am, like I said, 47 years old. I've had success. I've had failures. I've had success. I've had happiness. And I'm at a good place in my life. And it's because I persevered. It's because I overcame limitations that I either set myself or were set for me. And I'm hoping that at the very least, that's what this cabin build is for other people who are watching me do this. That it's an inspiration to get out there and, you know, get outside your comfort zone and push your limits and achieve something that you didn't think you could achieve. Or even better, achieve something that maybe somebody else didn't think you could achieve. So that's my rant for the week, guys. I appreciate you if you've stuck around to listen to this. And like I said, I do want to tell the whole story about my life up to this point, and how bad it got at one point for me and my family, and how I turned it around and you know, achieved happiness and success. So like I said, I hope this cabin build does that. I hope this cabin build is inspiring for you as it is for me, and that you'll stick around to see it to the end. So thanks for sticking around, like I said, to this point. Thanks for watching the video again. If you wouldn't mind just hitting that like button below and subscribing, it really helps out my channel, and it inspires me further to keep going with this. I want to know that I'm on the right track and that I'm doing something that's meaningful. So so hopefully you have a great week, and I'll see you up here again at the cabin next week. Take care, guys.